In this week's Parsha, amongst the reports of the Meraglim about Eretz Yisrael, one of the things they say is, V'sham ro'inu, that there we saw as Hanefilim, which we're going to discuss what this word Nephilim means. The Pasuk continues, Bnei Anak, the sons of the giants, Min HaNefilim, from the Nephilim, Vanehi Beinenu, we were in our eyes like grasshoppers, and so too we were in their eyes. In Rashi, on the word Hanefilim, Rashi explains these are giants that come from Shamchazoi and Azoil, who had fallen, Shenaflu, they fell, Min HaShamayim, from the sky, from the heavens, in the times of Doir Enosh. The Rebbe asks, number one, why is it relevant what the names of these beings that fell from the heavens are, these angels that fell from heaven? Number two, why is it relevant that it happened in the time of Enosh? The question is even more. The pasuk that originally speaks about these Nephilim is a pasuk in the end of Parshas Bereshis. There, Rashi does not tell us the names of these Nephilim, and yet here, where it seems to be only being mentioned by the way, and yet here Rashi tells us the names. We also need to understand, Rashi says their names were Shamchazoi and Azoil. The truth is there are different opinions about this in the Gemara. According to another opinion, it was Uzo and Azoil. Why does Rashi choose this opinion of Shamchazoi and Azoil? Another thing we need to understand, when we look back in Parshas Bereshis, on the word Nephilim there, Rashi doesn't say anything about falling from heaven. Rashi translates Nephilim as they fell and caused the world to fall. In other words, where he's translating the word Nephilim not as falling from heaven, but as people or things that had their own downfall and caused others a downfall, brought destruction to the world. Rashi doesn't mention anything about Malachim over there, so we could certainly would understand Rashi there being as human beings that caused the downfall of mankind, bringing corruption, bringing sin. And secondly, he's translating the word Nephilim. So again, first of all, it's not Malachim, it's human beings. Second of all, it's not falling from the sky, falling from heavens, but just as in the sense of having a downfall and causing others to have a downfall. So why is it over here that Rashi is learning this is referring to Malachim and that they fell down from the sky? Says the Rebbe, what was really bothering Rashi over here is, in the previous psukim, we have already the Meraglim describing the might of the inhabitants of the land, including the fact that they saw giants there. The question is, what happens in these few psukim later on, that now they're once again describing these giants, and this time adding this expression Nephilim. And this is what Rashi is telling us, that in fact the Meraglim are adding a whole new component to their argument. That not only are there giants and strong, mighty people, but there are these Nephilim, these people that came from Malachim, that fell down from heaven. Why is this relevant for the Meraglim to add this now? This is because after they gave their first report about how mighty and strong and great and giants these people are, the pasuk goes on to say, Vayas Kalev Esam, Kalev quietens down all the people. He silences them and he starts describing to them and telling them, reminding them about all the amazing miracles that Moshe had performed for them already. And therefore he says, if Moshe would even tell us to get ladders and climb to the sky, we would be able to do it. It is to this that the Meraglim are saying, no, we won't be able to go up. Ki chazaku mimenu, the people in the land are stronger mimenu, which Rashi explains as meaning that they were claiming that these giants or these people are even stronger than Hashem. But the question is, how are the Yidden going to believe them? They just heard about all the miracles that they themselves witnessed, and they remember these miracles. So how could they think that Hashem is not going to be able to make miracles against these mighty people in the land? This is why they now added the Meraglim ad, that they saw the Nephilim, which as Rashi explains, is not just referring to the fact that they were great giants, strong people, because surely physical height and might won't mean anything when we're speaking about Hashem. And that's why Rashi says Nephilim over here means that they saw beings that fell down from the heavens, and therefore they won't have the power, and therefore these Nephilim will have the power to rebel even against Hashem. But the question remains, and Ben Chamish Lemikra will ask, how does it even make sense that a Malach should want to go ahead and rebel against Hashem? And even if he wants to, how does he have the power, the physical ability to rebel against Hashem? That's why Rashi tells us that they fell down at the time of Enosh, which tells us two things. Number one, in time of Enosh, this is the time where all Avodah Zarah started. And therefore, if we say that this is the time the Malachim fell down from heaven, that means that they too are associated with this idea of Avodah Zarah, which tells us that yes, these are Malachim that are rebelling against Hashem. Number two, if they fell down in the time of Enosh, now in the middle between Enosh and now, the Mabul happened, that means there are descendants from these Malachim that survived the Mabul. In other words, that even the Mabul, which is a punishment from heaven, didn't affect them. So that could explain that yes, in a certain sense, it seems like they even have the power to fight against Hashem. That's what the Meraglim are trying to say, at least. This will explain to us why Rashi brings the names of these Malachim and why these specific names. Because that's going to emphasize even more their power to try to rebel against Hashem. And it's so clear, Rashi doesn't even have to explain it. Their names say it for themselves. The word Sham Chazoi, the word Chazoi means what you see. Something that's visible. Sham is from the word of shame, or Sham is from the word of shemamin, which means desolate. You look at this person, you see that he is one that brings destruction, brings the world to be a desolate place. Azoil is from the word Az, which means he has tremendous power. This malach has tremendous power. So this emphasizes this idea of how these malachim have the power, the courage, the strength to chas v'shalom rebel against Hashem. And this is what the Meraglim at least are trying to impress upon the people. Says the Rebbe, with this we'll also understand the following Rashis, where Rashi translates Bnei Anok, the word Anok, Rashi translates as they're so tall that they make the sun seem as if it's a necklace around their neck. Then Rashi says, or Rashi's, before that, Rashi actually says that, that they heard the giants saying to each other that they could see the people, that they looked like little ants crawling in the vineyards. And the Rebbe explains, if we were just speaking about regular giants, so regular people compared to the giants wouldn't seem like little ants. But once we understand this idea that they had fallen down from the heavens, that this is not speaking people about beings that came from the Malachim. So now we can understand what it means that there are really tall giants that are making the sun look like it's a necklace around their neck, and that the people compared to them are like tiny little ants. The Rebbe concludes with the Yena Shol Torah with the Chassidus that Rashi contains. It's known the famous explanation of the Alter Rebbe. Why is it that the Meraglim didn't want to go into Eretz Yisrael? They claimed Eretz Oicheles Yeshvet, it's a land that consumes its inhabitants. They wanted to focus completely on spiritual avodah, and they felt that in the Midbar they could be involved completely in spirituality without having to get involved in the physical world. If you get involved in the physical world, in business and work, it takes you away. It consumes its inhabitants in the sense it doesn't allow the Yid to remain in a full spiritual state. For this, they're bringing a proof. They said that we saw the Nephilim, which, as Rashi tells us, are these people that came from the Malachim, and they're saying, look what happened to these Malachim. These Malachim had come down from heaven, and yet they had fallen down from their spiritual high state, because this is what happens when you come into a physical world. So how are we able to go into Eretz Yisrael? And what does Yeshua and Kalev answer? Im chafetz banu Hashem, if Hashem has a desire in us, Hashem will bring us into the land. Don't be afraid of them. They actually use the term lachmeinu heim. They are going to be our bread. Hashem is with us. Meaning to say that, yes, it's true. Although the Malachim did fall, but Yidden are greater, Yidden are higher than Malachim. Yid is a Chelek alikami, Ma'amam is truly a part of Hashem. And since the Eibishter is chafetz banu, the word chafetz means Hashem wants us, but it also means an inner desire and a pleasure. Hashem has a pleasure from our avodah down here in this Gashmiistic world. So not only are we going to be able to withstand the challenges and remain with all of our great spiritual levels, but on the contrary, we could take the Gashmias, lachmeinu heim, they become our bread. We consume them, meaning that we transform them, the land itself and the world itself, to become a dira for Hashem, a dwelling place for Hashem down here in this world.